Hi, welcome. My name is Dale McCluskey, and on this video, I'm going to take a few minutes to discuss the issue of using motivating agents to build the mainstream picture of change. What a lot of trainers and owners will invest in when it comes to saying, well, the dog is moving into these various positions or accepting certain people and certain animals, so that must represent that meaningful change has happened, that the dog is, that the behavior issues are beginning to resolve themselves. And what I show very clearly is that that is not always the case. You have to actually go deeper than that and actually be able to test the motives of the dog through that picture, through response, the reasons why the dog is accepting or not accepting. Even when you use food to tie it in, to build bridges that way to get a dog to accept or to build that picture where you're getting a dog to move into various positions. Again, it's all about motives. Just understand that when you're dealing with training, we're dealing with behavior, resolving behavior issues. Because what I show very clearly is that when owners are dealing with unwanted behavior issues, it's because a dog is starting to gain power in the relationship. Now, there's a devaluation issue that's very, very real, and this is something that you won't hear, I guarantee you, many, if any, dog trainers actually talking about. So here in this video, again, I'm going to discuss the issue of using motivating agents here. In this case, these are treats, which is, again, very common. A lot of trainers will use treats to incentivize the dog to respond, to move into various positions, and they'll build bridges that way. So, but here, again, it's all about understanding about motives. It's the reasons why dogs do the things they do and go into various positions. Just like in the human world, people, you have to look at the motives. It's just no different looking at motives. The reason people do the things they do, it's no different than dogs. You have to begin to look at dogs through this relational lens to understand why when things begin to fall apart or the wheels come off the train, you have to ask the question, is it really the dog's fault? Is there something wrong with the dog, or is there something wrong with the picture, with the motives and with response, with how that picture is being painted? So here again, treats are very common. You see a lot of trainers using treats, but again, you'll hear trainers talking about not using treats, knowing that there's a problem, but not really discussing this whole thing with motives and going any deeper than that. So therefore, it's really important to understand the issue of tying this in properly, to understand looking at this devaluation issue. So again, you want to avoid using treats. You want to use the motivating agent. You want to look at is nature itself, looking at beginning to get the dog to come into the right relationship through leadership, and that is the motivating influence. Okay, the dog will come into agreement with the process. That's a really core tenet of this system, is understanding how that comes together, and what that does to promote change in and through the person. This is really important, because here when you use treats, you're incentivizing the dog to move into position, but it does not encourage the person to change how they think. People that are very emotional with their dogs and want to use certain things, but you have to ask yourself the question, you really think about that. People want to use certain things based on how they feel about things, but again, you get feelings involved, emotions involved, tied into things. There's no depth. It's all appearances. So again, you have to go deeper than that to understand what's really happening. So again, stay away from treats. You want to strip this stuff away. Do not use treats based on the problem with motives. The motives don't clean up. There's a high risk that they won't clean up. But again, there's a little twist here. And so just understand, if I use treats and use certain ideas and get away with it, it's because of how I already think. Okay, that's the little twist that a lot of people can't figure out as to why some people are successful and others fail. But even seeing this whole issue of failure based on the picture, if you're not looking at motives, you won't know what's real and what's counterfeit. Okay, you're just going to be looking at the picture that way. And again, to go further than that, even a little further, is this issue of using food, the dog's food, to incentivize and motivate or build a picture, to motivate that way. Again, same problem. This can be the same problem. You're tying this in. You're trying to use a motivating agent, get the dog to do what you want based on getting something in return. Okay, the dog's mind connects to this. But again, you could be dealing with a devaluation issue. You can deal with the dog's all focused on this, but it's weakness to the dog. The dog's motives are rotten to the core, and their mind is jumping over you, so to speak, and tying that in that way. Now, again, you'll see trainers using certain treats to try to even build bridges that way. It's called counter conditioning. They're trying to change how the dog thinks. So using treats is one way trainers use to get a dog to accept certain people based on a dog getting something out of the deal. But again, you have to think about motives. When dogs accept people based on a state of wanting, think about motives again. It may not be a good thing. Okay, the dog that all you're doing is you're extending that devaluation script out, and so basically the dog is still in control. The dog's in control of its environment, still thinks it's in control of interactions of people. It has control, and so it really comes down to the issue of control and motives again. Again, you tie this into trying to build bridges that way. Again, you will get acceptance, but then you have to look at the motives aren't truly going to clean up. The relationship isn't going to get better, and you're going to see it. You're going to see behavior issues still result. Now, the people tied in this way, directly or at the associative level, okay, you're not going to see that, right? So it's just understand you're kind of building a world, that this kind of false world that is not real. Okay, this is why when you step beyond that world into the real world with other dogs, other situations, you're going to see this all fall apart, and it's very common. You'll even see that in service dog training. Why people really struggle to get any sort of a standard going on, because they built the world this way. The motives haven't cleaned up, relational change hasn't really happened, and so you're dealing with a counterfeit picture. So anyway, just something understandable using treats or food, these concepts of counter conditioning. Just understand you're dealing with motives. You cannot always trust the picture. You have to be able to go deeper than that and actually expose the motives. And there's a way to do that relationally. It's all about looking at it through what's reasonable through leadership, the type of influence that's coming online, how the dog is accepting or not accepting that, the levels of that, and being able to look directly through the relational lens. So if you have any questions about training, about this issue of food, treats, just let me know. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions.